Hello everybody and welcome to Racing 2 Real Estate. I'm John Roberts. This is Josh Tucker. Got a great program coming up for you. We're going to talk about some fantastic properties we're marketing right now. And how about a two-time Truck Series champion, Todd Bodine's going to join us. Racing 2 Real Estate starts right now.
Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Racing 2 Real Estate. I am Josh Tucker. This is my host, John Roberts. We will have Todd Bodine joining us, as John said, in just a few minutes. Before we get started, John, let's take care of just a few housekeeping things. Obviously, we are in the studio, Duckworths Studio, located in the offices of Anchor Real Estate here in Mooresville, North Carolina. We do encourage you to follow us on social media. We can be found everywhere. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we are on Instagram. So follow us there. You can message us questions on any of those channels. You can send us emails to racing2realestate@gmail.com.
Ask us anything you want.
Anything you want. Yeah, don't have to necessarily be about racing or about real estate, John. We do have a handful of questions later on in the show today. Some of them about racing, some about real estate, and some about other things. So look forward to
just fun.
Yeah,
I
look forward to getting to some questions. You can also use hashtag R2RE on Twitter. Using that hashtag, we do follow that hashtag. So if you ask us questions there with that hashtag, we will see it. So once again, John, let's jump in and chat a little real estate stuff. We got a few really cool listings.
Some we're really excited about.
Yeah, spend a few minutes here and just kind of talk a little bit about them.
Well, 218 Pisgah Church Road in Statesville, North Carolina is really an exciting property because it has so much to offer. Not only does it offer a great farmhouse, 73 acres, a huge outbuilding, 6,000 square feet in a Morton building. Yeah. I don't know if you noticed yesterday when Kevin Harvick took the checkered flag, on his arm he had Morton buildings.
On his fire seat,
which is kind of cool because that's the company that built this building up at Pisgah Church Road. And you know, Josh, one of the things about this is not just for your person who's looking for a ton of acreage for privacy. There's also a business aspect to this property. When you look at it, you can see from our ad on anchorre.com that the people who own the place, they actually got married there themselves. This could be a great wedding venue, which is a huge business right now. It's got a huge pond, beautiful scenery, and again, you could use that outbuilding however you want. It's wide open. It could be your staging area, it could be your reception area, and then you also got this beautiful house as well. There's so much, and I know you like one thing about it is the fish.
Yeah, absolutely. So the pond is stocked. Interestingly, the owners don't fish in the pond. They're
no
not
fishing.
They're not big fishers, so they warned us or told us ahead of time, there will be no fishing in the pond. We like to keep our fish and
big fish.
Yeah, big old catfish and bass and all kinds of different fish in there. They keep a big bucket down at the dock. Yep. So this pond, we call it a pond. It's kind of like a mini lake. It has its own dock. You could easily put a paddle boat or some sort of cool little watercraft there to play around. But they keep a big barrel down there and where you pull the fish food out and feed them. And man, those
as soon as you make any noise with the barrel, the fish come up and they're huge fish.
Yeah, they hear you walking down the dock and they start swimming around to the surface. You can see them, so it's pretty cool. I do like the pond. And interestingly, on the venue side, a few of the people that we've shown that property to have liked that idea. Yeah. Right? I think there is a great opportunity, whether it's a situation where you want to live there in the house and have a little side income and offer the property up for events, whether it's a wedding, a family reunion, a big birthday party, whatever it might be.
Those places are booked solid around this area right now.
They are, and the property offers a lot of great features for it. Like you said, the 6,000 square foot Morton building could be a great spot, to hold a reception, or the one half of it, I think 3,000 square foot of it's heated and cooled.
Yeah, we call it an outbuilding, but it's pretty nice. It's got a nice floor and walls and the heating and air and everything.
And 73 acres. So, imagine the room to roam. Yeah. It's really cool. The owners prior to the current owners that we represent are actually NASCAR folks. We know them. We know them very well as well. And when he owned it, he created a road all the way around the perimeter of the 73 acres.
So you can go the whole way around.
Yeah, so we
jump. Still rough.
Yeah, we jump on a mule or a little ATV, and we can take clients around.
Took a Range Rover around there the other day, made the whole circumference in a
Well, Range Rovers are known to be able to do that.
Yeah, they're pretty tough.
That's kind of what they're made for. But
but how about another one, Josh, on Stillwater? We call this place La Dolce Vita, which in Italian is the sweet life, because if you lived in this house, you're going to have a sweet life. This thing it puts the smart in smart home. This place was so well designed. Now it's huge. It's 10,000 square feet, 9 acres. And once you get inside, you can just feel not only the luxury, but also the technology as well. The heating it runs at 98% efficiency. Now, I don't know anybody who does anything at 98% efficiency. It is so well insulated, so well planned out, and there's smart features everywhere. But bottom line, Josh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's an incredible property. We're really excited to bring that property to market. It is available now. We obviously do have the listing agreement.
Yeah.
It's not fully marketed out there yet. Our hopes is to have that done within the next handful of weeks. But yeah, absolutely, just an incredible property. I think when you incorporate square footage under roof, I think we're approaching 15,000 square feet.
Yeah, so, some of the extra stuff as well.
Yeah, just a massive property. A lot of covered porches and screened porches and outdoor
garage.
Entertaining. If you want to entertain outdoors, what a phenomenal property to be able to do that. I mean, just a beautiful swimming pool. He's got a putting green there. I mean, it's got, you name it, this place has it. And a beautiful outdoor cabana with a summer kitchen and full bath out there for
living
your
quarters
guests.
upstairs.
Living quarters upstairs. I mean, the place really does have it all. And like you said, smart feature-wise, I mean, you run the whole house with your phone, you know, which a lot of buyers want in this market, right? I mean, they want to be able to control lighting and music and their alarm systems and their cameras and
right from the old phone.
And HVAC. That house has all radiant floor heating through a lot of it as well. I think the whole basement is geothermal type heating, where it was actually heated concrete. So
and they're
super efficient.
Yeah, and they're on the cutting edge also of having the artificial turf around the pool, because the last thing you want is grass going up to your pool, because you get grass kicked in, you get mulch kicked in.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have that problem there, and also you don't have the problem of putting any lawn chemicals down around your pool as well. That's smart. But one thing, I don't know why, I guess I don't get out enough these days, Josh, but this just excited the heck out of me. They put one of their laundry rooms, just one of several laundry rooms, in the master closet.
Yeah.
So you got this huge master closet, but you do your laundry right there. You don't carry it around the house. You don't drop it. You don't, I mean, you just toss it right in the washer if you want to from your closet. I thought that was cool, a cool piece. But then you walk out of that master closet with the laundry room in there into one of the nicest bathrooms you've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, the whole master, I call it wing of the property. I mean, it's probably 1,000 square feet or bigger. The master wing of the house, and
La Dolce Vita.
La Dolce Vita. It's got a lot of privacy from the master suite, a ton of windows, but like you said, 9 acres, a lot of it being wooded.
Yeah.
So a lot of great privacy. It's a gated, entrance. Just a beautiful house, and like you said, laundry on all 3 levels, which is very a lot of people look for that. Yeah, very convenient for buyers today. So then overall, that's just a beauty. It's new. It was just CO'd or just given its certificate of occupancy this spring in 2018. So an opportunity for a buyer to come in and maybe not build their own home or design their own, but
there's still room.
Be brand new, and the basement's not fully finished yet, so they could do some stuff there too.
And actually, the house is so smart; it has its own Twitter account. The house tweets. It does.
It does. Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. The house has its own. Its own Twitter.
What about some waterfront luxury we got to offer right now? 126 Stone Marker.
Yeah. So Stone Marker, great property. Also, so 2 lots.
612.
Yeah,
I got my numbers back. 612.
And
I got my numbers backwards.
It's 2 lots side by side. One of them has a Stone Marker address. The other has a main channel address. Yeah. So kind of right on the corner of those 2 streets. But I think combining both lots together, about 2.5, almost 2.5 acres.
Almost 2.5 acres.
So a good bit of space there. So if La Dolce Vita already being built doesn't suit your needs, you can buy this property, have 2.5 acres of waterfront, private dock already in place. I want to say like maybe 300 or 400 foot of water frontage.
Gotta be, yeah. It's a ton of water footage, of frontage, and then the view when you look out from the back of the cove,
all the way out to the main channel. Yeah, I mean just a several mile view. So a real good opportunity there for somebody that wants to build their dream home, custom construction, and take advantage of the water, take advantage of that Lake Norman lifestyle that we all love. And I think for that land, With both lots combined, I think we're looking somewhere in the $1.3 million range for that land. So
Yeah.
a real good deal.
Very reasonable. And also, there are 2 livable structures on one of those lots right now. So if you had investment in mind again, I was looking at them, Josh, and thinking if I was in the market for such a thing, it would be a great opportunity to just simply get into the rental market on the one lot. It's over an acre,
Yeah.
and there are 2 separate livable structures right there that could be rented out easily. And also, if you wanted to, which is another thing, if you have somewhat of an unlimited budget here, if you have a big budget, what I would recommend doing is you could stay in one of those bungalows, if you will, while you build your dream home on the other lot, and end up with a little compound on a cove on Lake Norman's main channel.
Yeah, that's certainly an option. Another option, like you mentioned, I mean, so we have these things priced together, also being sold separately. So the lot that I believe is about 1.2 acres with the 2 small structures on it, the 2 little bungalows or cabins, whatever we want to call them, listed at $675,000. The other lot, which is roughly the same size, about 1.2, 1.3 acres, with no structures on it, listed for $600,000. But if you wanted to just buy the one with the structures on it for $675,000, you could vacation rental by owner.
Oh yeah,
you could do an Airbnb thing there.
It's a huge market these days,
and probably make some good income on that.
Yeah. All right. Well, those are some of the properties we have to offer right now, and they're fantastic. Check them out. But how about this, Josh? How about we take a little break, and then on the other side, we get a 2-time champion in here.
Yeah, we just seen Todd Bodine walk in the offices of Anchor up there, so we're excited to have him in the offices. And so let's take a few seconds here, hear from our sponsor, Duckworths, and we will be right back with Todd Bodine.
Duckworths Grill and Tap House is your neighborhood restaurant. Good food, good friends, a huge selection of craft beers on tap, not to mention the weekly and daily food specials. 5 locations in the Charlotte metro area. Make sure to go down and check out your local Duckworths. Welcome back, everybody. Once again, this is Racing 2 Real Estate. John Roberts, Josh Tucker, and we are happy to have a wonderful guest with us, our good friend Todd Bodine, the Onion, Toddles, Toddler, whatever you want to call him.
Wonderful, man. You're stretching that one, aren't you?
No, it's not a stretch.
Yeah, it's a little
I
stretch.
love hanging out with this guy. Okay, this is just going way back to begin with. You know, there's a lot of drivers these days who jump behind the wheel of a car and probably couldn't tell you what upper A-frame geometry is or anything like that. Toddles, you started from the ground up. You built your race cars, you crewed, you crew chiefed, you moved.
Changed tires.
I
did it all.
What was your trip like?
Oh, man, it was very... my story is a lot different than most guys. You know, my father owned a racetrack for 25 years. Mm-hmm. So I grew up going to racetracks. That's what we did. Saturday nights, we went to the racetrack. Well, growing up there, I didn't really care about racing. You know, it was like, that's what we did.
Yep.
When I was 11, Brett had actually built a street stock, and I was hanging out in the garage every night with him and his buddies, working on a thing, but I was just hanging out. Yeah, sweep the floor, wax the car. Well, he asked me to go to a race with him in Perry, New York. First race I ever gone to as a crew member. And, of course, I wasn't old enough to get in, so I had to sneak in the back of the hall.
We all remember those days.
Yeah. And he went out and won the race that night. It was the first time he'd ever raced at that track.
Wow.
And he ended up winning the race. And, of course, we'll get to go out on the racetrack and celebrate and a trophy and pictures. And I'm like, man, this is pretty cool here. You know? Now I get it. Now I understand why they do it. So from then on, I was about race cars.
You were hooked.
I was hooked. And I grew up. I didn't get a lot of race. A little different than most guys. You know, now these guys are starting when they're 5 and 6 years old, go-karts and bandoleros and whatever. I didn't. My first time I ever raced, I was 19 years old.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got a late start, and I owned my own car, and I was broke, and I ran out of money, and I had to drive some pieces of junk, and finally and that was all in New England states, and I finally quit doing all that. Brett and Jeff had already moved down south. Jeff had already started racing in Cup for Rick Hendrick. Brett was working for Rick Hendrick on the Sportsman cars, which is Xfinity today. So I moved down, went to work for Rick Hendrick, and didn't really race. And so for
Was that in the 90s or what?
That was the 80s.
80s, okay.
Yeah, I moved down in 86.
Yep.
Actually, 85. I did race a little late model stock car, but ended up getting fired. It's typical, you know.
I think we've all been there at least one time.
So I worked for Rick Hendrick and Robert G for a while on the sportsman cars, and then I went to work for Tom Pistone, Tiger Tom.
Oh, yeah.
I got my education there, that's for sure. Then I went to Buck Baker Driving School, and then I worked crew chiefing for a guy, and then I got hired at Highline Racing. So this whole time, I'm building cars from the ground up. I'm crew chiefing them. I'm changing tires on pit road. I was a chassis specialist, changed all the shocks and springs, knew everything about them before I ever got the chance to drive. Mm-hmm. And in '89, I was working for Highline Racing, which was Kyle Petty was driving at the time, and they had let me build a sportsman car there. So I raced a little bit in that. But Kyle, our sponsor at the time, was Ames, and Kyle didn't want to drive anymore. He was running, I think, 12 races. Ames wanted to run 8 more races. Kyle said, "Hey, why don't you just let Todd drive it?"
Yeah.
It's like, send me in, coach, you know? So that was my first at the time it was the Busch Series, first professional job driving. And the first race was Martinsville. We qualified 5th and finished 8th. Did pretty good. Second race was Dover. First time I'd ever run at Dover. I've been there many times, changing tires and crew member and all that. And I ended up qualifying 4th and finished 3rd.
Wow.
My first time there. And that got the eye of Frank Cece and Scott Welliver. And that winter they called me and we got together, and I had my first full-time job as driving in '91.
Wow.
So my story is a lot different than most.
Don't you love hearing these stories these days? I mean, I think that it's across all major league sports that it seems like, to us when we grew up, it seems like guys these days are getting, if they're not getting handed stuff, they're making a faster track. And what a lot of people don't know, Tony Stewart, is worth millions of dollars. Awesome owner, great, one of the greatest drivers ever. But he had a situation once where him and his girlfriend went to the racetrack when he was in high school, and they didn't have enough money for a cheeseburger. They had to buy a hamburger because the cheeseburger was like 75 cents or something, and so they couldn't. They couldn't. So they split the hamburger for dinner. And this is Tony Stewart we're talking about. If he didn't win the race, they wouldn't have enough money to put gas in their passenger car to get home. Well, Tony went out and he won the race, and it was that day where he realized that, hey, look, if I was welding in the shop where I'm working for my uncle, he was working for his uncle or something at the time, and if I worked however many hours that day, I would have made the same amount of money that I just made by winning this race. So that's where a star was born. And so we need to hear more stories like, Todd's, and hell, I was mowing grass when Fox called me.
Todd, do you think that, you mentioned, you spent all these years prior to the podcast, or prior to racing, that, working on the cars and crew chiefing and understanding the geometry and pitting cars and going over the wall. Do you think that that's something that is kind of lost in today's drivers? I mean, do you think that really gave you a competitive edge once you got to the driver's seat, understanding all those things, compared to a driver now at the cup level that's 18, 20, 22 years old? Yeah. There's no way they can have all of that, right?
Yeah, most of them never even lifted a wrench.
Yeah, a lot of them haven't.
They absolutely haven't. You're absolutely right. And the analogy I always gave when I've been asked that question a lot, the analogy I give is it's like a fighter pilot. If you just took him out of a Cessna and stuck him in this fighter jet, he's going to get it off the ground and he's going to fly it around, but he's not going to know the limitations of it. He's not going to understand what he can do with it. Yeah. Where if you take him and send him to school and he's learning this plane and how much ailerons do and all this stuff that works, he's going to be better at flying it. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing that I feel like, this whole time I'm changing tires and I'm crew chiefing and chassis specialist and all this stuff that I'm doing, I'm hating life. Yeah. I want to be behind the wheel and I want to be driving. I'm hating life.
But then you appreciate it more. It gives you more appreciation.
But when I got in race cars for the first time, Dover's a great example. When I went there the first time as a driver, I'd already been there a dozen times as a crew member. Right. And when I was there, I wasn't just crewing the car. I was watching. Yep. I'm watching these guys on top of the truck, watching their lines, where they're running, how they're doing things. So when I got the chance to go out there, I already understood how that track was and what I needed to do.
Right.
Now, I already knew what I needed to do setup-wise, shocks and springs, and how to make it go.
Right.
Because we'd actually had one there with Bobby Hillen as a driver.
Yeah.
And so I understood that. And then I watched him, so I understood that. So now all I got to do is sit in the seat and apply everything that I learned as a crew member and go out and do it. And I really believe that's why the first time I was ever there, I qualified fourth and finished third.
Yep.
And it was Harry Gant, Rick Mast, and me in a line at the start-finish line for the checkered flag. So
wow.
Yeah, and
it's pretty cool.
Almost 800 NASCAR starts.
Yeah.
Between all three series?
794 NASCAR
How about
starts.
that?
And
That is a
what,
lot of
what
driving.
I didn't know until, recently is that, I think almost 250 in the Cup series, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mid 200s, somewhere in
I'm
that
the
range.
only driver that has over 200 starts in all three series.
How about that?
And
That's
Kyle
pretty cool.
Kyle can come close. It depends how many truck races he runs now to retirement.
I was going to say,
He's got to run like
yeah.
10 a year, I think it is,
Yeah.
for 10 years or something. I forget what the number was, but he
I
can
bet he
come
doesn't do
close.
that.
Yeah,
I
and
bet
you
he come close.
kind of done it backwards, but a lot of that was based off of timing, right? So I think that you didn't break into the truck series until later on in life, but the truck series wasn't around when you were running all the Xfinity racing back in the earlier '90s. But when was your kind of break into the truck series, and how did that kind of come about?
Well, I actually drove 4 races for Jack Roush in '95, the first year of the series.
Okay, I didn't know that. I don't remember.
Jack started the team halfway through the year. I was driving a Ford at the time for Butch Mock, and he needed someone to drive it that was kind of, I guess, knew what they were doing. So I ran 4 races for him then. And then it was not until '04 that I ran more truck races, and that was when Jermaine started their team.
Oh yeah, the 30 truck.
The 30 truck, and
Yeah.
that was.
I think that worked out okay.
I think that one worked out
went
pretty
well.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. Now
You
you
know,
got-
now I loved running the Cup Series. I loved running the Xfinity with Busch Series then, but I really owe my legacy, what I'm going to leave in this sport, to the Truck Series.
Mm-hmm.
It built me to who I am. Had a lot of success, had a lot of great friends, a lot of good times, and I really owe it a lot.
Yeah, both Camping World Truck Series titles that you won, were both of those with the same team?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
both of them with
same team, same
Jermaine.
crew chief, same people.
Yeah, was that Hillman?
Mike Hillman Jr.
Yeah.
In '06 and in '10, and we we're very fortunate. We had a lot of good
Yeah.
races.
Yeah. 22 Truck Series wins, I think I seen.
22 wins.
2 championships.
Well,
That's a hell of a
22 wins with Junior and 1 without Junior.
Oh wow! Yeah. Where was that at?
Red Horse Racing,
Okay.
and Rick Gay was the crew chief. It was actually Dover. Funny story. So I ran that first Dover race of mine, and then the next year I'm running full time, my first full time deal. And the very first race that year at Dover, the spring race, I won. Mm-hmm. That was my first win in anything ever. And my last race that I ever won was in that truck at Dover. So I won my first race at Dover, and I won my last race at Dover.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
neat. Well, I know we gotta jump into some NASCAR stuff here in just a couple of minutes, some recaps of the races this past weekend, and look forward a little bit to Phoenix. But quickly, before we transition to that, you kind of hung up the helmet, so to speak. What was that, 12 or 13?
Middle of 13.
Middle of 13.
As a full-time racer, yeah.
Now you're obviously doing a bunch of analyst stuff with Fox Sports. A lot
You
of
had to
stuff
end
with
up
the
with me.
truck series. You got to work beside John
Sorry
there.
Sorry about that title.
I know I've heard you in the past, just from us hanging out together away from the racetrack. You mentioned that you coach some drivers, or you do some things like that. So you're still avidly involved and passionate about NASCAR and the sport. So that's pretty cool. How does the coaching thing work? Do you actually go to the racetrack with some of these drivers, or is it more of just a mentor role?
It's more of a mentor role. I've never been officially a coach for anybody, but a lot of these kids that are coming up through that I've become friends with for one reason or another, I always give them advice and try to help them. And last year, Kaz Growler was running a full truck series, and every week he would come over to the house. He'd bring his computer. He'd have the previous races for that next track downloaded and qualifying runs downloaded, and we'd sit there for an hour and we'd go over everything, and I'd just tell him all the little tricks and the things not to do, the things to do, so that when he got to that track, it just sped up his learning process.
Yeah.
But because I was on TV, I wasn't able to go to racetracks with him.
True. Yeah.
So that makes it difficult. But there's, a lot of kids. I'm very fortunate. When I started racing in the Xfinity Series, Busch Series, my brothers were both in the Cup Series. Mm-hmm. But there was a guy in the Xfinity Busch Series that was pretty darn good. Was there racing and also racing Cup, but he was in the Xfinity racing, and it was Mark Martin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark was always kind enough and nice enough that if I had questions, I could go to him, and he'd give me an honest, true answer and help me get better.
Right.
And I always said that if I was ever in that position, I was going to pass it down and do the same things because it's important to help these kids get better to help our sport grow in the right direction.
Very true.
Yeah. And marketing idea, as soon as Kaz Growla turns 21 and he's winning a bunch of races, we want Duckworths to sell Kaz Growlas of beer.
I've heard that joke about 1 million times.
Okay,
yeah, but never on a podcast.
Never on a podcast.
On our podcast.
We better
Very
take
cool.
a break.
Well, Todd, man, you got a great story, man. It's really cool to hear it. Can you stick around with us for a few more minutes and just kind of talk a little bit more about what we've seen at Texas and maybe what we can look forward to at Phoenix? So let's take a quick break. Let's hear from our sponsor, Anchor Real Estate, and we will be back in just a few seconds to break down the NASCAR weekend with our guest, Todd Bodine. Anchor Real Estate is your boutique real estate firm located in Mooresville, North Carolina. We specialize in the Lake Norman area. Whether you are buying or selling, our innovation through communication will get you results. That's Anchor Real Estate in Mooresville, North Carolina. Make sure you follow us on social media.
And we're back once again, Racing to Real Estate. We got the Onion, Todd Bodine, with us here, two-time champion, which we must say, and also my partner on truck races this year. We've had a good time.
Yes, we have every week.
Before we jump into breaking down the NASCAR thing, I got a quick question. I know why the nickname Onion, obviously, but who started it? What's the quick story behind that?
So in 1991, when I started racing full time, I had a spotter who was a jokester and a prankster and loved nicknaming people, and he nicknamed me the Onion.
Okay.
And I owe all that to Randy LaJoy.
Randy LaJoy, interesting.
Anybody that knows Randy understands what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. All right, well, hey, let's jump into some NASCAR to recapping here. We had, obviously, Texas over the weekend. All three series competed there. I don't know how much of the races you guys got to watch over the weekend, but kind of starting with the truck race. Obviously, kind of heartbreaking for me personally to see Gilliland.
You feel for Todd Gilliland, man. He's so close.
I hate it.
He's going to win, though.
He's got lots of wins in his future.
Yeah.
The kid's super talented. I think that he'll be a champion in the sport down the road. But
quick side note on that: I won my first race at Dover because Ernie Irvin blew up right in front of me, and Davey ran out of gas on the last lap, and I ended up winning the race.
Hey,
so I've had to go the other way.
You can't go the other way. And ironically, 2 of 3. So Justin Haley wins the race after Gilliland runs out of gas coming to the checkered flag. And 2 out of 3 Haley's wins this year come at the heels of Gilliland.
True.
Getting ready to win his first race.
The 2 most important wins.
Yeah.
They both got him to the next round of the playoffs. Now he's in that championship 4 going to Homestead. But nothing away from what happened there in winning like that. Mm-hmm. He had the fastest truck at that race. And circumstances and the way the pit stops worked out, he was catching Todd. I mean, He deserved to be the guy that wins the race.
He absolutely did.
Me and Jimmy Spencer used to always butt heads on the old morning show on Speed about this. Jimmy always used to say, if someone win a race, that was a fuel mileage race. That doesn't really. It was a range shortened race. So I'd say, Jimmy, a win is a win. I don't care if everybody else doesn't show up. You still won.
Who got the check and who got the trophy?
Yeah,
that's all that matters.
And next year or 2 years or 5 years from now, nobody will remember how you won it.
You just won.
They're just going to look back in the record books and say, "Hey, Haley won at Texas."
Race.
Yeah. So really cool, and I think Haley is one of the. I don't want to call him underrated, but because he does get a fair share of his airtime and all that. I get that, but I mean, I think there's a lot of people in the truck series that get a lot of talk and hype around them, and Haley's never really been one of them.
I'd say he's underrated.
I think
you're
he
safe
is.
on that.
I think we talk about Ty Gilliland and some of these other young drivers that we think have bright futures ahead of them. Watch out for Haley, because I think he's one that, and I love his passion. I mean, here's a guy that I follow him on all the social media, and we've had a chance to talk personally a few times, and the dude does a lot of dirt racing, dirt late models, and I mean, if he isn't in that truck racing, he's out across the country somewhere doing races. He's super passionate about the sport, which is good to see. And a quick playoff picture for the trucks. Obviously, Sauter winning last weekend at Martinsville, Haley this weekend. They're both locked in. You got Moffitt and Gregson both above the cut line. Fairly decent, I think 24 and 18 points above, respectively. And then you got Enfinger and Crafton both below the cut line going to Phoenix. So I don't know if that puts either one of them in a must-win situation, but, ooh, man, if it isn't, it's pretty close.
Pretty dang close.
Anything can happen, okay? I mean, those guys, Gregson, Moffitt, can drop out the first part of the race, and, then it's doable for those other two to get in. But it's pretty much a must-win situation
I gotta feel like
for
that
those
too.
guys. Yeah, the way the playoff points work, stage points work, they're going to have to win.
Yeah, not a must-win this weekend at Phoenix for Cole Custer. So Cole wins his first Xfinity race this weekend at Texas in a wild finish. That was a pretty cool race. So excited to see him win as well, and he locks himself into going down to Homestead, Miami to run for a championship there.
And speaking of underrated drivers,
absolutely,
everybody knows Cole's pretty good, but they're never said how talented he is, and the things that he does that makes him fast. And this week is a great example. That kid is gaining every week. He's getting better and better, and he's really doing a great job.
He is, and he's the only one locked in. Because last week, John Hunter Nemechek won. Or 2 weeks ago, they were off last weekend, but 2 weeks ago at Kansas, John Hunter Nemechek won, not in the playoff battle as a driver. I think that car is still in the championship, or the owner's championship battle. But so you got Cole Custer locked in. You got Reddick, Sadler, and Hemrick all above the cut line. You got Allgaier, Tift, Bell, and Cindric below the cut line. Allgaier and Bell being the two key names there. Bell 34 points back. So, like we just said about the trucks, I mean,
it's after the season he's
possible, had. I mean, when you look at the points, it's possible to point your way in 34 points back, but very unrealistic to think. I mean, I think he has to go to Phoenix and win.
Absolutely.
To go
well,
through.
when these drivers, when they win their butts off all year long, it used to be that was your guarantee almost of a championship, because the way the old point system was. And sometimes you hear some complaints now and again about people saying, oh, man, he's kicked butt all year long, and now he's not even in the championship for it. Well, hey, guys, that's the way it goes. This is Major League motor racing here. And, what did the Patriots do, Todd? 16-0 or 15-0 or whatever, lost the Super Bowl, You got to win the whole way out.
You had to bring that up.
Sorry, I didn't, we all have
hitting a sore spot.
They're doing good this year, though.
They're
doing good this year.
Not too bad.
Yeah, there's the rules. Them. Go play with them.
And then what about Cup Series? So obviously Harvick. I mean, did anybody else lead laps there? I know they did.
Blaney did a little bit.
But Harvick just dominated. I mean, he won both stages in dominating fashion.
And he was the fastest since they unloaded that truck. And now here we go to Harvick's personal playground next. So one of the best things you can do. That's why you never. I mean, you say, okay, can you be comfortable now, Kevin, going? You're locked into Homestead, but no, because what he can do by winning a race could knock out one of his better opponents.
Yeah.
There's big pictures to this thing. If he goes out there and just sleds around, somebody else gets in, that might be the car that beats him for the championship.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're, just throwing names out there, right? Harvick probably at this point, looking at the season as a whole, has to be most worried at Homestead, probably about Kyle Busch, right?
Probably.
I mean, that's what I would think. So if you got, either Harvick wins that race, or if somebody in the bottom 8, below the cut line wins that race, could it potentially put Kyle on the outside? Depending on how they finish at Phoenix or whatever. But obviously, that's Harvick's goal is to go to Phoenix and win that race, or hoping that somebody underneath the cut line wins that race, because he'd probably rather go to Homestead and compete against anybody other than Kyle would be my guess.
Yeah. Now, veteran evil madman Gold member once said, "There is no pleasing you people." And when he said
that one more time,
there is no pleasing you people.
Okay.
So when you go, in years past, everybody said, okay, there needs to be more emphasis on winning. This points racing's BS. Okay, I'm sick of the points racing. When you now go, you got to say to NASCAR, mission accomplished, because when you go with those 4 drivers, any 4 of them are going to tell you once they get to Homestead at any of the 3 top series, you pretty much got to win that race. You're not going to finish 3rd or 4th and get a championship per se. These teams are too good, too buttoned up. And that's why they're in the championship 4. You got to win this sucker, and if that's not emphasis on winning, I don't know what you want.
Well, it's not just Homestead. I mean, win and you're in to the next round. That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes the pressure off. Incredible, but you still want to get your points though. I keep preaching this all year long about stage points.
Yeah.
And look what it's done to this points race getting to this point. It's jumbled it up every which way you can think. So
which is
you
fun.
Still got to race for
about.
Points, but race the win and you're in. So I love it. I think this whole playoff system is fantastic.
It's exciting to watch. I mean, it certainly keeps you on the edge of your seat. Now, I think that the 2 like Logano and Harvick winning you're in for the last round. This round of 8. The going forward, the playoff points and stuff don't really mean much, right? Because they don't carry over.
Right. Yeah, not to the final.
Not to the final round. So everybody starts Homestead on equal keel.
But nothing about winning.
And what it does is I think it gives, not that Logano or Harvick, either one will lay down or not try just as hard this weekend at Phoenix as they would any other race. But I think where the big advantage is gained there is back at the shop. Now those guys have an extra 2 weeks to massage on that car. They know they're going to Homestead. They've got their Homestead. They got them cars picked out. They got them on the assembly line, and they are working their butts off, massaging every square inch of those cars, making sure they're perfect. And the people that aren't in yet are still working equally hard in the shop on those cars going to Texas last week or going to Phoenix this weekend because they got to race their way in. So I think it's a big advantage, for those 2 that have already won because they're already looking to Homestead.
Yeah, if you think this is not a team sport, or if you think you work hard at your job, or somebody works hard at their job, these crew members right now in those championship cars, they are working their butts off, aren't they?
Absolutely. And then, there's a lot of pride that goes in to making sure that your race car doesn't break down, doesn't have an issue. So those guys, they work hard every week doing this stuff.
Yeah.
But you're right. When it gets down to the crunch and that car's going to Homestead, you usually crawl up under that dash and put a wire on. You're doing your job right, but this time you're going to make sure you're looking at it, you're going to feel it, you put some silicone on it, making sure that thing is not going to break and it's not going to come off.
Yeah. And so a little different story here, but I found it kind of interesting, and it's something you don't hear of very often. But did you guys hear where NASCAR made the mistake of making Jimmy Johnson start rear of the field?
Yeah. They admitted they're wrong.
Yeah, they admitted they were wrong,
but
you don't hear that very often. And not that, I don't think Jimmy Johnson had a car to win the race yesterday anyway. It certainly didn't appear. And I think he only qualified 22nd or 23rd. But still, to lose 17 spots on the start of the race makes it very, very tough.
That was tough. It was an oversight on NASCAR's part. And I think NASCAR as a sanctioning body has always been what I call big boys. They have always taken the criticism head on. When they make a mistake, they own up to it. And I just saw on that old tweeter there that Steve O'Donnell tweeted to Jimmy Johnson. He said, look, we screwed up.
Yeah.
I apologize. We cost you. Nothing we can say now can help it, can fix it, but we are going to do everything in our power now to make sure it doesn't happen again. But
they never apologized to me, and I had almost the same situation.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, so one of the rules we have in NASCAR is you have to attend a driver's meeting and you have to attend driver inductions. If you don't, you start at the rear field. So we're out. It was actually Charlotte Motor Speedway. We're out for driver intros, and I'm there. I go across the stage and I wave, everything, get in the truck and ride around the track, and we get belted in the cars, and NASCAR calls down and said 75 to the rear field. Missing driver intros. I was
I did not.
I pushed the button. No way. I was at driver intros. Ask such and such driver and this guy. I was standing there BSing with him. I'm telling you, I was at driver intros. No. You're not at driver intros. We did not have you marked on the list. Rear of the field.
Wow.
And they made me go to rear field. And that was because the guy that takes the roll call at driver intros
forgot to check your name.
Didn't check my name off.
That's robbery.
And so I understand how he feels. And Fortunately, that day it really didn't cost us anything.
Yeah.
Because we had such a fast car, we drove right up and we ended up finishing in the top 10, I think. But
It's still
it's still a big deal. It changes the whole outlook of your race from the start. So
Yeah, interesting. So, I mean, obviously NASCAR's human. They make mistakes.
Yeah.
I think the good thing about it is they owned up to it. They apologized for it. Obviously no way to fix it. The only thing they can do is, try to be better, moving forward, right? So anyway, that's all I have for Texas. I think looking forward to Phoenix. Two things quickly interesting to note about Phoenix, or about any of these racetracks in the playoff, really. And for the truck guys and the Xfinity guys, this being the first year that the Cup drivers aren't allowed to compete, the full-time Cup drivers aren't allowed to compete in the playoffs races for the Xfinity guys, or Xfinity drivers, or the Truck Series. So I found it interesting, these last handful of tracks, when you're looking back at who's going to run good, at Phoenix, or who's going to run good at Texas. A lot of like in the Truck Series, for instance, the only active driver in the Truck Series to start at Phoenix that has won is Sauter. Well, that's it, because every other race before that was won by a Cup guy that was starting a Truck Series race there. And the same with Phoenix. The only two drivers active starting the Xfinity race, Allgaier and Sadler, have ever won at Phoenix in an Xfinity race. And everybody else is winless. So it kind of makes it hard looking forward to Phoenix about who's going to be good or who isn't going to be good. And then obviously for the Cup guys, Harvick I think controls. I think he's got 9 wins there. Average finish over the last 5 races of like 3.2 or something.
It's amazing.
So, Kyle Busch not too far behind though. I think his average finish, not near the amount of wins, but I think Kyle's average finish at Phoenix over the last 5 races is like 3.4. So he's had the finishes to back it up, but just struggles to get to victory lane there for whatever reason. But I think Phoenix will be a cool race. With the reconfiguration of the track will be interesting to see how much it really changes it.
Is it reconfigured, Todd? Or?
Well,
we had this discussion on our show. Yeah,
Okay.
The racetrack really isn't reconfigured. It's the same racetrack. They just moved the start-finish line from one side of the track to the other.
Which is reconfigured.
So the racing is going to be the same, but what's going to be different is the restarts. Start of the race and the restarts. That pack of cars going into what used to be turn 3, that long flat corner, which is turn 1 now, and going in there side by side, maybe even 3 wide. Heck, we had last year they came across that area 6 wide at one time. So it's going to be interesting to watch all that.
Absolutely, it will. So that's all I got for Phoenix. I think it'll be an interesting race. All 3 series going back there. So it's Friday for trucks, Saturday for Xfinity, and Sunday for the Cup guys.
That way
short
for the
race
final
too.
3. Yeah, short race. They go by in a hurry.
Phoenix, goes by in a hurry compared to the other tracks. So should all be interesting, man.
So Todd, here's what we get to do at the end of our program.
Okay.
You know what the end of a real estate deal is? You're clear to close.
Yeah.
So we do clear to close.
All right.
At the end.
All right.
So clear to close in the real estate world is 3 of our favorite words, right?
Yeah.
Now, when I was NASCAR
Clear
racing,
to
3 of my favorite words were Texas, Phoenix, Homestead. That meant the end of the season, So I compare it that way.
Yeah.
But we end our show every week with a clear to close. Before we get to that, though, we do have a handful of fan questions that we wanted, or viewer questions that we wanted to get through.
Oh, these are fun titles.
You want to stick around for these, Todd?
Yeah,
You may be able to give a little input.
Yeah.
Let's take just a quick 10-second break here. Hear from our sponsor one more time, Duckworths, and we'll be right back to answer some fan questions with Todd Bodine, the Onion.
Duckworths Grill and Tap House is your neighborhood restaurant. Good food, good friends, a huge selection of craft beers on tap, not to mention the weekly and daily food specials. 5 locations in the Charlotte metro area. Make sure to go down and check out your local Duckworths.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Racing to Real Estate. I'm Josh Tucker, John Roberts, of course, Todd Bodine. Everybody knows him.
That's the Onion.
So we got a few minutes left here in the show where we want to go through a few fan questions. We didn't get a chance to do fan questions last week, or not as many of them as we wanted to, so we got a couple extras this week. We'll watch the time.
Because we talked too much last time.
Hopefully we can get through them. Very first, Todd from Topeka, Kansas asked, whose trophies are in the background and what tracks are they from? So, Todd, we can help answer that for sure without
they're
getting
all
out of our
Biffles.
seats. Because our
Except that's yours, right, Josh?
Yeah, so the one on the very end, the Quicken Loans with the key on it, is Biffle's win from Michigan in 2013. And I'll have to ask Greg to confirm this. I believe that was Ford's 1,000th victory.
Oh, I think it was. I think you're right on that.
So that's a big trophy for
Yeah.
Greg. Him winning that race at Michigan, I think, was the 1,000th victory for Ford. Right next to that, the champagne bottle is Daytona. That's actually when I won Daytona in the summer race with David Reagan. I believe that was 2011. The one on this side, the Pep Boys Auto 500, that's a win that I had with Carl Edwards at Atlanta. A very exciting win. We can go through those story another time. And then over here, obviously, Homestead is a winner from Biffle 2004, and he brought that trophy in and wanted to share it because that's the win that he helped teammate Kurt Busch win the championship. Greg told us that story on the podcast earlier in the season. So that was a big win for him. Greg dominated Homestead for a long time. He was really good at Homestead. That was one of his favorite tracks. So that's the answer to your question, Todd. We got a lot of other trophies around the office here and at our homes too. So on future episodes, maybe we'll mix some of those up some. Jessica from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Have both of you been racing fans? And by both of us, I'm sure it's John and I. Your whole life, or is it something you became interested in later in life? And have either of you ever driven race cars?
Good question.
I tried to drive a race car and was not good at it. I was very slow, if you will. But I grew up in Washington, D.C., and we knew who Mario Andretti and Richard Petty were growing up. But then 1992 went to Daytona and was just hooked. Ever since then.
So for me, I kind of grew up around it, very similar to Todd. My dad was heavily involved in a local short track. So I remember, from the time I was a toddler, I was out there every Saturday night. And yes, I did do some driving. I drove street stocks, I drove modifieds, stuff like that, just locally and around the Midwest, a lot in Fort Wayne, a lot in Angola, Indiana. Ran at maybe 5 or 6 different racetracks, won a few races, but always been a race fan. And then when I moved down here, obviously hung the helmet up and got into the mechanics side of it with the NASCAR teams. So that is that. Thank you for the question, Jessica. Matthew from Dawsonville, Georgia, Chase Elliott's hometown, asks, and rightfully so, he said, I'm a big Chase Elliott fan. Do you think he has to win this weekend to advance to Homestead?
Yes.
I agree. I think statistically speaking, he could point his way in. I want to say Chase is 20, I think I have it down here. I want to say Chase Elliott is 39 points back.
Yes.
I mean, if he won both stages and maybe finished second, and a lot of the people in front of him have bad points days, it's possible he could point his way in, but I'm going with yes. I think it's a must-win for Chase Elliott this weekend.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Matthew, I know you're a Chase Elliott fan. That's probably not the answer you wanted to hear, but yes, we do think that Chase does have to win this weekend to advance. Brittany from Pensacola, Florida. Have any of you ever been to the Snowball Derby late model race?
I have not.
I have not either, and I'm actually trying to plan that right now, Brittany, to go.
Yeah.
Trying to talk Sauter and taking his car down to try to get him some sponsorship, but I've never been there. I hear it's a blast.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of them, Brittany. I actually was a car chief for a guy that ran some Hooters Pro Cup back in the day, and then at Xfinity Racing. His name was Joel Kaufman. And when Joel was really young, 14, 15, 16, he was doing a lot of super late model racing. I worked full-time for his late model race team. We were headquartered back in Indiana, and we did come down and run the Snowball Derby 3 or 4 years. Back then, tire soaking was legal, and I'll tell you, it was a hell of a race. I mean, I think the last year we went to the Derby might have been in 2002 or 3, and I want to say we went through like 40 sets of tires or something crazy. Yeah. So the race has changed a lot since then, but still, a great race to go to for super late model racing. 2 more quick questions. Michael from Shelby, North Carolina. I noticed that you guys have sold a few equestrian properties this year. Is that a new market for your firm that you're trying to break into instead of the waterfront houses?
Well, we try to represent every type of property we can.
Absolutely.
And some of the equestrian stuff had come to us through some personal relationships, but also through people just finding our firm. But we've learned a lot about it over those. Once again, we got to say the one that we did recently, 3 other firms had tried to market it for a 4-year period, and we were lucky enough to get it under contract in 20 days.
Yeah.
And equestrian's a good market, but we still like the waterfront. Heck, Todd, we like inland waterfront.
Yeah.
We just like property.
We'll do it all, no matter what it is. And the equestrian stuff has certainly been fun. I think one thing that's spurred an interest in the equestrian stuff around here is the big, I don't know what they call them, the World Equestrian Games in Tryon. So that was the first year in Tryon that they did that, and I think it kind of opened this all the Carolinas up to this big equestrian world that has kind of been here for a while, but it really put us on the map. So I think it's, generated a lot of interest around the Carolinas for equestrian properties. And like John said, we've had some referral deals, people with equestrian properties, and we've been fortunate to be able to sell them. So good question, Michael. But yes, we do love the equestrian. We love waterfront. We love real estate, period. So if you have anything to sell, we will help out. Final question, and this is to John. This is Anna from Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And she says, John, I heard you mention on a show a few weeks back that you used to live in Nashville, Tennessee, and you still like to visit. Are you a country music fan, being that you like Nashville so much?
Well, actually, my wonderful wife, Tracy, was living there when we met.
Yep.
And just a little side note, she had talked me up on stage at the stage in Tootsie, so I got to play a little music in there. The stage was fun, but I got to get up with a country music band and play drums at Tootsie's one day, and I could not wipe the smile off my face for about 2 weeks. It's one of those famous musical venues ever, and she was laughing at me because I was a little out of shape, when you're playing the drums. I got a little sweat going down, but love Nashville, and would like to have a place back there again someday soon.
Yeah, and obviously a big country music fan. I know you are, because I hear you guys talk about it all the time. Actually, your wife Tracy's son, is it Michael?
Yeah, Michael's tour manager for Dan and Shay.
Tour manager for Dan and Shay, so I know you guys like to follow them around and go to a lot of their concerts as well. So we're all country music fans here. I guess I can't speak for Todd, but
I like all kinds of music.
Okay. So yeah, we do love our country music. Anna, we appreciate the question, and that's all we got for questions. I'm glad we were able to get through all of them. We missed a few last week. So folks, just a reminder on the questions. Follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. You can message us on any of those platforms with your questions. You can also send us emails to racing2realestate@gmail.com. We will answer your questions on the show. Also use hashtag R2RE on Twitter, and we will see your questions that way. So plenty of ways to get a hold of us. And we like answering questions about anything, racing, real estate, or anything else that you have to ask.
Country music in Nashville.
Absolutely. So that being said, I think, John, we are ready to clear to close.
Clear to close, just a thought for the day. I remember I had a particularly bad incident in a high school football game, and my head coach came over to me and he said, "Son, life can be a series of disappointments. How we handle those disappointments defines us as a human being, and also defines us as our future as well. So if you get hit with a disappointment, don't hide your head, man. Hold it up high and keep on digging, and someday you'll laugh at that disappointment."
That's a great saying for people in racing, because you don't realize this, that there's only one winner every week, and there's 39 losers.
That's right.
So you have to learn how to deal with disappointment in racing, and that's a great way to look at it.
Have a bad
day. I'm a firm believer that you kind of create your own destiny.
I think so.
I think so. Yeah. Well, it's a good thought, John. Absolutely good words to live by. So quickly for me, clear to close, just a couple of key things. The Rust to Riches Cruise In, I mentioned it on a few shows prior. That was this past Saturday. I was out there all day Saturday. What a great time we had. There was probably 100 cars on display, cool. Old classic cars to newer luxury cars. There were Bentleys there. There were old Chevelles and Camaros. Really, really cool. A lot of people showed up. All the proceeds from that benefited Lake Norman Humane, which is really special to me. Speaking about Lake Norman Humane, November 7th, that's this Wednesday. We have our People Helping Pets auction event. That's at Langtree Plantation. Starts at 6 p.m. We are selling tickets still. We have a great number of people coming. We'll have a silent auction, live auction, food, drinks, the whole 9 yards. And John is MC and auctioneer for the live auction. So make sure you come out.
No one else was available.
And hear John in his auctioneer role. And then last for me, this Sunday's Veterans Day. Just wanted to throw that out there. Appreciate everything our veterans do for us. And when I was thinking about Veterans Day, it led me to an article that I read earlier this week about Brad Keselowski and his Checkered Flag Foundation. Brad named in the top 100, number 81 actually, as the in the world as far as charitable donations given.
Really?
And that to me was astonishing. Number 81. I mean, he's on a list with names like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. Obviously, all those in the top 10. Brad number 81, but 81 out of 100 in the world.
That's huge.
In terms of charitable donations, I think that's big. And Brad's organization obviously does a lot with veterans. So kudos to you, Brad. We love what you do out there. and keep going on it. That's all I got. Clear to close. Any last closing thoughts for you, Todd?
I'm good, man. It's been a good ride and loving life, having fun.
Absolutely. Well, man, we appreciate you seeing us on the show. This is episode 9 of Racing to Real Estate. We got a few episodes left for this season. We'll have a couple more special guests on, but hope you enjoyed this one. Todd, thanks again for joining us. I hope you all liked it. This is a wrap, folks. Racing to Real Estate.